County Board meeting for June 20th. Please, everyone, join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Commissioner Brad Anderson will be attending via the Teams meeting, and he is in Ireland. How nice for you, Brad. All right, so we will do a roll call vote for everything that we are voting on at both today's county board meeting and the HHS meeting. Any disclosures of interest? All right, hearing none, we will move on to review and approve the previous board meeting minutes.
So moved, Gressett.
Second, Batcher.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the board meeting minutes. All those in favor, Commissioner Gressett,
Aye.
Commissioner Becker,
Aye.
Board Chair votes aye,
Aye.
and Brad Anderson.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Well, it's going to be a while to understand how to do that one. All right, review and approve the county board agenda. Are there any changes on the agenda?
There are no changes, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and approved to approve the county board agenda. Again, all those in favor, roll call vote. Aye.
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
board chair votes aye.
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
All right. Agenda. Review and approve the following items on the consent agenda.
Move approval, Gressett.
Second, Anderson.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Todd, Susan,
Aye.
board chair votes aye.
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Regular agenda, human resource managers report.
Chair, while they're getting ready to present, I would note that if you wanted to take the other HR item after this, you could and move Tessa up to that point. Because the pay study is actually way at the end of the
As
agenda.
long as you're here and
That way Tessa can work for an hour between meetings here too.
Do her math.
But go ahead, Tom.
all
Madam
right,
Chair,
go ahead.
members of the board, the Personnel Committee met early this morning and reached consensus on two items. One was the addition of a public safety telecommunicator, if I could say that. And the other one was to convert in land use an open admin assistant position to a septic and well inspector. And I know Chad and Lisa are both here to elaborate on those if need be.
All right. Yeah, Sheriff, why don't you come up and mention briefly the telecommunicator positions?
There you go.
Back here. Is it on?
Yep, you're on.
Okay, thanks, Chad.
Well, this has been in the works for roughly 2 to 3 years. We knew we were lacking in our emergency communications center with staff. And we did a staffing analysis a couple of years ago and determined that yes, we are lacking in that regard. What we also found out is we've had the same 12 positions in that division since 2002. Now, keep in mind that the calls and the agencies have continued to increase their staff. Calls have increased. We just can't keep up, and we always have to deal with vacations, sick time, all those other issues that are going on in our PSAP. Ideally, we would like to have 3 people on our staff when when Chad and I both got here, at times, we were going down to one person in our dispatch center for 2 hours every day, which we thought was unacceptable, because it is. We've since responded to that, and now we have a minimum of 2, but when you get to, Chad elaborated a little bit on, you get a major event in Pine Island, and then you get another, maybe 2 or 3 more smaller items, 2 dispatchers really have a hard time handling those situations. And yes, I know we can't predict when the calls come in, but we'd like to be at a reasonable amount of staff, and this request is for 2 additional public safety telecommunicators for 2024, because we are, like everyone else, working on our budgets. We'd like to get that in there for 2024. Starting now, if we could identify 2 people, I told the committee earlier, we actually have 48 applicants for 1 open position that we currently have, and that is remarkable. We haven't had that in 4 years. I don't know if we've ever had that many for a PST, as we're calling them now. So that's the request. And also, just so you know, on the board, and we can talk about this later, the legislature has awarded essentially Goodyear County $925,000 for public safety aid. And that can, it can really be used for anything public safety related. So that would be an option. Granted, it's a one-time money. And whether we got that or not, I think I told many of the board earlier this year that we were going to ask for 2 more public safety telecommunicators anyway. So that's where we're at. And if you have any other technical questions about our dispatch, and the next gen 911 is coming, that's going to be a significant undertaking for our emergency communication center. And that's moving forward very fast. We're set pretty well with our partners in land use management and GIS. But there's a lot of work to do. So with that said, I will turn it over for questions, and likely Chad will be able to answer the rest of them.
The comments that came up this morning is, as the sheriff said, they hadn't had any additional dispatchers or telecommunication experts since 2002. I have had the experience of being a police dispatcher. It's a very difficult job. And the idea that 1 person would be there is, I mean, that's absolutely inaccessible, undoable. 2 I can see would be an absolute minimum, but if, as you said, if somebody goes on vacation or calls in sick or whatever, then you're down to 1. So I would concur that I think 3 is the minimum one should have.
I guess my question would be is if this is for 2024, why can't we consider it as we're doing the budget process as opposed to it today? I mean, it's not that I'm opposed to it, but it's that we just talked about a 5.58% levy increase without us knowing all the numbers. So I'd like to see it be part of the budget process.
Okay.
Did we discuss where, so the $900-some thousand, but did you have a plan, even if you use that, no specific plan of how the money's gonna be utilized, but you could use a portion of it, but that would only fund it for maybe a year would be the anticipation? Okay.
Correct.
So, and obviously with the advent of technology making life simpler, maybe has been since 2002, where we haven't had the need for additional staffing, but just a question that we needed, probably your staffing report just goes to show that the state, whether it be state, federal, we should probably look at a lot more of a regional dispatch center than what we're continuing to do, because they're, don't know, just looking at it from the outside, I have to imagine there's a lot of redundancy through every county to have their own dispatch center, and what we're doing and providing that we could be much more efficient. Nobody wants to give it up, I get
Right.
it, but you know, state patrol.
We are.
Cities, we could be much more efficient regionally doing something. So.
We have a lot of regional efforts going on. We have for many years, and they just continue to grow as well. So
Yeah.
we are doing a lot of regional work in that particular division.
Sheriff, is there a reason that we couldn't look at it during the budget process? As Commissioner.
Well, the
Fletcher was-
reason we're bringing it up now is
Yeah.
so we can get it in our budget. So this, in my opinion, this is a budget process for us.
Not for us.
Well, if with your blessing, it would be really easy for my budget, then I would know I would add 2 more dispatchers. So I don't know, whatever your direction would be. We wanted to get this on the radar sooner than later. And knowing that those funds are available for a time being, we thought we'd throw it out there to get the conversation started for sure.
Past, the board has wanted to say yes or no before including it in the budget. So when we're talking about going through the budget process, previous boards wanted each item brought forward before it was actually included in that bottom line. So it's just we're just, I'm hearing that you want to handle things a little bit different.
Additional employees wise.
Right.
Yes, we want to see that because otherwise it gets dumped under the budget. Some we may or may not know, other than if it was wrote as a summary, it's saying this budget includes these 2 additional employees. So we have it come to us. We don't have to approve it. We can look at this in the budget, but it'll be one of those things that gets thrown in the budget and say, your levy is 10% because you
Said yes.
allow this to
And-
17 additional people in HHS, 2 more in land, whatever it would be.
Right.
So those are ones we'll have to summarize. So yes, the board can make a decision forward or to wait, or yes.
Brad, do you have a comment? Brad?
Well, I mean, I think I'm okay with, I think there's a resignation, so backfilling that one, but I think there's a whole lot, and I think Todd and Susan and Linda and I heard about it at the district meeting. This whole idea of getting to the next phase with 911 and integrating GIS into it, it's got to be seamless across county lines. And right now, I'm not sure the GIS part's going to be seamless across county lines. So I'm kind of where Todd is or Jason is. We need to take a harder look in southeast Minnesota to a better regional approach to it. I don't think we need a dispatch in every single county. I think we need probably 2 or 3 dispatches across southeast Minnesota, and we could do a better job with a higher degree of the equipment and better use of the equipment if we regionalize it. So I'm kind of, if we need to backfill a position, I'm okay with doing that today. I really think there needs to be a big, harder look going down the road at how we're going to address all those issues around 911 as we move forward. I know we share between counties a lot of information and a lot of technology and stuff, but I just think there's a better way to do it. I've had problems with this for a long time with doing dispatch one off every county. I just don't think it's the right way to approach it, but that's my opinion. But if there's a backfill position we need to do right now with these 48 applicants, I'm happy to do that today, but I think that's already taken care of. I think this is about going forward with 2 more, and talking about it during the budget process is fine, but I want to hear some better ideas about how we do regionalization. That's where I'm at.
Board Chair.
Yes.
So we're willing, basically, we're willing to say, let's take a look at getting rid of our dispatch because we're willing to go over to Wabasha. We're willing to go to Dodge or to Rice. I think the position we're in right now, we would be the obvious choice for the Wabasha to come to us, if that would be possible. And we talked about it in our budget or in the personnel this morning, no sheriffs want to give this up. So is it the right concept? 100%. I agree with it, but let's have 3 across the state. But that's going to take people to say, hey, okay, we're going to give ours up. And I don't really see that. It makes sense, but I don't see that happening. So, and I
think
go ahead.
This Commissioner Anderson, the thing that really the purview of 911 falls to the county board. It is not the sheriff's responsibility. It is county board's responsibility to have 911. So it is in all sheriff departments. I agree with that. I understand that. But it really is, if the county boards in southeast Minnesota wanted to do regional, I think we could do regional. But the talks are not happening other than at the sheriff's department. And at the sheriff's department, I agree. Nobody wants to give it up. I understand that. I totally get it. It's a number of staff you have under you in your department, and you don't want to ever shrink that. I get it. But I just think from the public standpoint, we could have a much more robust 911 system if we did it regionally, and we had 3 centers in southeast Minnesota that were doing it, and they all could back up each other. And we would do it with probably less staff because we would be doing it with a bigger system. That's just my opinion. Nobody studied it here, but I just think that's the answer. But so going forward, I'd have to hear more about what the possibilities are with that before I'd be wanting to beef up ours with more staff.
And Board Chair, I guess where I'm coming from is we need to position ourselves, even though this is a goal or a wish that we would like to see a regional, if we're not getting ourselves prepared and having our county taken care of, if something changes in the future for a regional, staff will have to be adjusted, and that'll have to come from, the combination of those. But if we are not situating ourselves or not preparing ourselves, we're going to be behind the 8 ball, which I think we're not maybe right now, but we, within the next 6 months to a year. And how long does it take to train a dispatch? Or what's the term now?
Public safety telecommunicator, 6
Public
months.
safety, so, and that those 6 months of training is all paid by our 911 funds, correct? So, like Linda said, she's been in the dispatch. I've been out on the highway by myself, and I got one person to talk to, and I call on the phone and that dispatcher's there. So, a little bit different situation. So I'm ready to support this. I think I don't want to get us too far behind the 8 ball. We got the next gen on its way. We have things to prepare for and to keep our county safe. And yes, if the regionals do it, then staff will have to be adjusted at that time.
Madam Chair. So to Brad's point, none of us are arguing that a regional approach could potentially be a benefit to many. But we've been talking about this now since I've been here for 4 years. And if it's a county board that needs to approach that, then county board needs to do that with the other county boards. I'm not stopping you, right? But here we are, and we need more people. And even if a regional approach concept began in 3 or 4 years, we're still short in our emergency communications division, and that's going to impact public safety. So by all means, if you want to reach out to Olmsted and whoever else, please do it. I'm not preventing that. I'm trying to, I'm essentially looking out for 47,000 people in Goodhue County, that they get the calls answered. And quite frankly, if we have a catastrophic event, they're not getting answered. And that's my approach, and that's where I'm at.
Okay, would it be possible if we came up with consensus at the moment to not stand in the way of that, but possibly support it? I know Todd and I support it. A consensus for you to add it into your budget going into the budget process, but that we can't make a final decision until the budget process, for the reason that we don't know what all the money, what everything's going to be.
Yeah, yes. And we can identify.
It was a very convoluted way of asking a relatively simple
But we
question.
can, every year as we go through the process, we identify things that are new, not a new pencil, but if it's a new position or, moving in a different direction with new equipment, we outline that for you. So you'll have that all right in front of you. And it's, the county budget is your budget. So yes, you can do that.
So it's not that I'm opposed. I just want it to be.
You're
part of
just asking for it to be a
process. I-
part of the
I wanna
process.
know all the money before I make a decision on what it's spent on. So it's not at all that I'm opposed to your request.
How does that delay the situation? Does that,
Well, the final budget's due in December. That would delay us
Well,
another 5 or 6 months.
For September
Yeah, we would
would
know.
be
by then.
when I think we'd make some kind of a,
They're not gonna approve everything, so by September, some things will have already fallen off the budget.
Right. right.
So,
You wouldn't have to. wait till December.
Here's my worry. We have 48 applicants now. It would be great if we could actually identify 2, 3, 4, 5 for potentially in January, but I understand maybe we'll get that number again. I don't know.
but if it wasn't gonna be till January anyway, if somebody is applying now, they're not gonna necessarily, they're gonna keep looking for a
Maybe.
job
Maybe not.
as opposed to, all right, do you have any?
If they knew that there was going to be a job for them, there's potential that we'd find somebody, but
all right,
no, I don't have any.
You don't have any backfill positions at
We're hiring one.
dispatcher,
Yes.
sorry, telecommunications specialist.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sergeant Wayne Betcher is, you know, in that phased retirement through the end of this year.
Okay,
And we have mentioned if he'd like to continue that, we would bring that back to the board. But he has made no indication of whether he's interested in that or not. There is a lot of advantage still to continue that, as far as succession planning and assisting in a lot of these systems and passing on information from GIS mapping, 911 mapping. But we won't know that probably till September, October-ish.
But I
Okay.
think we as a board could commit to giving them an answer by September.
I would certainly think so.
Yeah, I would think so.
It'll work.
this, in my opinion, I'm not going to delay this because I'm gonna approve it then too. So, I'm not sure. I understand we want the budget. We want to change our system. I'm not gonna look at this as a position. I'm not going to say, let's do this on. If we have another position, yep, let's maybe review it on that. This one I think is too high on my priority list to say, no, let's wait. Let's sit back. Let's, this is something we're gonna do. They've asked for it. I'm gonna support that.
January.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've asked for the approval, so. I am gonna go ahead and move this motion forward that we get these 2 dispatchers hired on.
All right, well, I will second it to discuss it further. Yes,
Is there a possibility of meeting a happy medium and getting one, picking one? The other challenge I have is even if you're approved, I mean, you've got 48 applicants. I'm not, again, what we comment is that, are you gonna hire somebody now? You go through the application process and say. we can't hire
I
you
mean,
till
I was just throwing it out there that we
January
currently
1st.
for our opening, we have 48, which is like a miracle.
Well, and obviously
would be-
simplifies the process of the the process is going to be the same. There's no reason to do this again. And maybe it'd be more advantageous if we have the number of applicants at the moment that we say, well, do we get? I can't imagine you're gonna give a job offer in September or here in October, August or whatever and say January 1st is your start date.
Right.
Somebody's gonna say, fine,
Right.
Mhm.
So, we maybe need to think outside the box. You're gonna hire one, depending on what Wayne's doing, retirement. Do we need to pick something in more succession planning? Do we need to get another individual, one position, hire the 2 of them now of the backfill or whatever that you're hiring now, and maybe one additional? Look in the budget, how that's gonna affect, and maybe we get to January I mean, the process of going through hiring and advertising and all this stuff is a cost to the
Right,
county
absolutely
also.
it is, yeah.
So, I still like the regional aspect. I get, like what Todd says, we're not gonna get there this year, next year, 4 years.
no,
So even if we approve it, it's kind of a convoluted process to get to January 1st for where we're at now. Do we need them? Do we get one hired, an additional?
but you weren't gonna hire before January 1st anyway, correct?
Correct.
That was our intention.
Correct.
Well, maybe they can identify how much of a process, the hiring process is gonna go through to start in the end of December. That might be HR to more
If
identify.
we
that.
get 2 solid people, I could come back and say, can we start this person in 2023? But that's not in our budget, so.
Right. Well, either way, they're gonna have to start over, so it's probably a moot point.
All right, well, it has been moved and seconded. to go ahead and accept the request for 2 telecommunications specialists to begin in January. Todd,
Aye.
Susan,
Nay.
all right,
No,
all right, I'll say yes. Brad,
I'm gonna say no right now.
all right. Do we have consensus to work it so that the sheriff can work through his own personal budget to come back and look at it through the budget process?
I think that's a
I'm
great
fine
idea.
with that.
Okay. Sheriff,
Okay, thank you.
The second item is for land use management, changing an open admin assistant position.
Morning.
morning.
So we have an open admin assistant position right now. And I met with my supervisors and we all decided, where we need to put our effort in right now. And everybody had the consensus that we should start preparing for another well and septic inspector. Our current one is of retirement age and that's all I can say. I don't know when they will and I can't ask them. But this is an opportunity for us to look at our department, see where we need to prepare for the future. With that said, if we do advertise this and we don't get somebody who's certified or licensed right away, it could take, just because of the timing of the classes, it could take about 2 years to get them up to speed. They would be doing all the work and these type of licenses is on the job training. We're one of 9 jurisdictions that do the well inspections. And so they have to train on the job. They'd be doing all the work, excuse me, but the supervisor or the current well inspector or sanitarian would do the sign off until they get their certification. This would also help the sanitarian do some of the public health reporting that we deal with on the public health side and public nuisances. When we have a bigger area that we got to clean up, it could take a couple weeks to do the cleanup and this person would be helping them do that coordination work. So right now, the administrative assistant that left was at the top end of their pay grade. And if we were to get somebody that was interested, we could offer the step 1 or 2. If we offer it at that point, that's still well within what our current budget is. But I can't guarantee, as we discussed earlier, where they would come in, especially if they had some experience or something. So, but right now, coming in on step 1 and 2, it'd be a wash. So with that, we're asking to not replace that admin assistant, but to change that to another well and septic inspector.
So same number of employees, believed to be the same cost, but a different role.
Yep, it'd be a same cost for this year potentially, depending on where they
I
come in.
understand. I understand.
Yep, it's same FTEs. We're not adding an FTE.
Yes.
and you anticipate your staff that you currently have now, or however we figure out this position is going to fill in for the administrative duties amongst your entire staff, that the administrative assistant is.
They would be doing, so one of our current, one of the current admin assistant was helping them do a lot of the well and septic database entry.
Okay.
And so this person would be taking that part over.
We have a motion.
Well, this comment, it seems like filling an open spot is
Mhm.
different than adding new spots. And then I think it's been the policy of the county when there is an open spot to look at that and see if there's a better way to fill that. And it seems to me this is consistent with that policy.
I prefer to do this than rather come back and ask you to add another position.
Right, I understand that.
Well, do we have a motion one way or another?
I'll make a motion to approve the position. Statute.
All right. We have a second.
Second, Anderson.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to accept the changeover from an administrative assistant to another well inspector position. Any other discussion, questions? Yes.
Just a comment that hopefully somewhere along the way that probably won't happen in my lifetime, that we transition out of this being a county job for well and septic inspector, but don't anticipate I'm gonna see it, so, but support it at the moment, so.
What would be the reason to move past and not do?
Private sector can do
Oh.
it.
I get you.
Um,
Right.
again, we're 1 of 9 to do the well inspections. To do the well inspections. Usually they're like the counties along the southeast here along the river that have a high karst topography. They've all delegated with the state to do the local inspections. As far as septic, I believe every county does have septic inspectors. And we have a lot of systems out there and we're getting more, some of these bigger projects like the Villa Maria that comes along. So it takes a little bit more time, but that's all. Typically, the jurisdiction has a septic inspector, so they're not designing systems and then going in and inspecting them.
Would there be any benefit to, from your perspective, to change over to having the private sector do it?
We can certainly look at what the options are out there, but I don't know that we have a lot of people that are qualified to do that, or again, then it's kind of like when you did part-time county positions where they were still doing a private business and then they were asked to check somebody else, their competitors' work. So this kind of keeps it separated from the ordinance enforcement to the design and system review.
So if there weren't very many
It's a
private.
bigger conversation.
Yeah, that is, it is.
All right. Yes, bigger conversation. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other comments? All right. Todd?
Aye.
Call vote.
Aye.
Susan? Aye. Board chair votes aye.
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think with the HR managers up here, I think
We're
it makes sense to take Tessa now and
All right, we're gonna take something out of order, the county pay study, correct?
yes.
All right.
And I think Tessa can review the consensus and you guys can vote on it.
All right, Tessia? Are you there?
You're muted.
There, now can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Board Chair. I will try to brief this as we've talked about this a lot. I'm just going to go down to the pay grid. This is the decision of the board, is to try to move to one pay grid. This would bring HHS onto a pay grid. It would bring the 8791 onto one pay grid. Implementation would be July 8th. HHS receives 3%, moves into the grid. Grades 87 through 91 receives 3% into the grid. All other employees would move into the grid on July 8th. And the cost here, oh, it's not moving, sorry. So this is the pay grid. Sorry, it wasn't moving on my screen. And again, this is what it does, is it moves July 8th implementation. It moves everyone onto one pay grid. And this would be the cost for 2023.
And I do just want to reiterate that the total increase in cost of wages and benefits for next year represents a 5.58% levy increase, but I think it's the intent of the board to use some of the additional funds we're getting from the state and other places to offset those costs, but it is a substantial cost to the county and to our budget.
And that would be that one cost right there is for just the wages. So that's a great point, Commissioner.
Yes. Thank you. All right, do we have a motion?
I would move that we implement July 8th, putting everybody on the same pay grid as presented.
All right, do Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Venture.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other comments, discussion? All right, we will roll call vote to accept moving on to one pay grid on July 8th. Todd,
Can you start with Susan?
Susan?
No, start with us.
That's correct.
I, Vetcher.
All right, Todd? Todd,
Why can't I
Todd
be
doesn't want
last?
to be first all the time.
Jason.
Jason is a no.
Jason's a no. Brad?
Aye.
Board chair votes aye.
And I'm gonna say no.
All right, motion passes. Cassia, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, facilities maintenance director's report.
Good morning.
Morning.
So at the March 6th meeting, the board approved seeking bids for the government center rooftop units. That's HVAC equipment on the roof at this building. ARPA funds were designated at that time. That dollar amount was $292,415. That was the budget amount for this project this year. 6 bids were received on June 14th, lowest bid being from Craft Mechanical for $350,000 or $350,200. The engineer and staff have reviewed this, then contractor does meet the scope of work. So with that being said, with the project total and the approved budgeted dollars, we're still at a $95,785,000 shortage. So I am here to ask for additional funds. Finance has reviewed this with me and recommended using the building contingencies fund. Current balance in that fund is $1,247,361. Requesting action for the county board to approve the contract with Craft Mechanical for $350,200 and request that the county board approve using $95,785 from building contingencies assigned to fund balance.
Thank you. Any questions?
This Commissioner Anderson, I'd move that we approve this proposal and that at the end of the year, when we're talking about assigning fund balances or changing fund balances, we could replenish the contingency fund if we have reserves that we could do that with. So I approve it, provided we look at it at the end of the year when we're making assignments and possibly refund that building contingency.
All right,
Second.
been moved and seconded. Any other comments, questions? All right, roll call vote. Brad, we'll start with you.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, board chair votes aye. Susan,
Vetcher, I.
Aye.
all right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. On a surveyor's report.
Good morning again. This is another topic that we've looked at a couple times. The more recent version of this, as I can see, I got a spelling error. More recent version is that we're not doing a lease for the Billsby parcels. We're doing a license. The license basically does not give them an actual real interest in the property. So that's why it's a license and not a lease. This is what we were directed by the DNR that we could do. Our land committee has talked about this and I've passed this over to the county attorney's office for review. With that, there's a couple things I want to bring to your attention that you should probably give us some direction on. So today we'll talk about these. I'll fill in what your decision is and then we'll rewrite this based on that. And then if you approve this for us to redo this, then I can have you sign it as soon as that part's done. We don't have to wait till the end of July when your next meeting is to approve an agreement.
Okay.
The first item under requirements, we say only one dock and only one boat lift is allowed. It's been brought to our attention. Some people have boat and a jet ski lift. So they were asking if they could have, say, 2 boat lifts on that one. So that's something to keep in mind on that question. The second item is under number 2, term of lease. I put a placeholder in there of 5 years, so this license would be good for 5 years, and then it would have to be renegotiated or terminated. Obviously, the landowners would like to have more than 5 years. The third item is the annual fee of $500. You can debate that a little bit. On one hand, the license is for putting their dock and their boat lifts out on that property on the beach, and then being able to store it there during the winter time. So it's not exclusive. Nobody else can come on the beach, but they're getting the exclusive right to put their docks out there. So currently, our dock ordinance is $40 a year. So 500 is a big step. Keep in mind, they're not going to be leasing the property from us that they were previously leasing. So you'll have to decide if 500 is the right number, or if you want to go to 100, or what that is. And then the last item that was brought up, oh, excuse me, 2 more. Maintenance and improvements on number 6. No peeling paint or loose pieces that may dislodge on any of the structures. They want to make sure that somebody comes out and the paint's peeling a little bit on their dock, that we don't terminate that license. So have a little bit of flexibility on that piece. And then the last thing on termination is we're saying that it's provide 30 days written notice not to renew the lease. And then we have to do that before the last day of November of the coming year. So maybe we strike out the 30 days notice and we just basically say, we'll tell you by the last day of November if we're going to redo it. Not have a conflicting 30 days notice within the last day of November. Should we just say last day of November, before the last day of November, we'll tell you if we're going to renew. So those were the items for discussion. So I can go back to the beginning. Number 1, only 1 dock and only 1 boat lift is allowed. Would you allow 2 boat lifts?
And I think you gave the example of a boat and a jet ski.
Yeah. You'd be in favor of 2 boat lifts?
Well, a jet ski is
A little
smaller.
lift.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
You pay somebody to put it in, they charge you. I just found that out in my cabin,
I'm sure they do.
whether it's a jet ski or it's a lift.
Are we familiar with anybody having excessive, because it depends on the situation, they may have a boat, jet ski and a pontoon lift, depending what they have, so.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's, I mean, if you want 3, if you can fit 3. Fine with it, as long as you're not bringing in your neighbors, I mean, I don't know if you're subjected to it.
Well,
You're
I'm
only licensed
thinking-
for that individual and what.
Yeah, I'm thinking you got like a T and you'd have 1 on each end. I
Mhm.
mean, somehow I think we should somehow limit that so it's not like you say a marina.
No more than 2. Is it?
Okay, so you're okay with 2?
Have you heard back from any of the people putting them there, and are they requesting like more because they have a purpose for it?
I think they gave me just 2.
Okay, I mean, if you're fine, if the people there are fine with 2, but
We have one of the landowners here too.
I mean, I can look at a lot of docks that I've seen and people have 3 or 4 lifts. You know, I mean, every boat has a purpose. You can't fish off the speedboat or the jet ski, so. okay.
And you have to have only 1 lift per boat or
Yeah.
jet ski or whatever.
Stored there.
Yes. So,
All right.
I mean, if they're fine with 2, I'm good with that. I'm just saying I don't wanna,
Yeah,
you know, if you're gonna tie up a speedboat and a pontoon and a, you know, wave runner or 2, I mean, I've got a lift for each of our wave runners too, so.
so
I mean, you,
it was brought up that many people have 2 lifts at the end of the T-shaped dock. So 1, ski boat with a pontoon or a regular fishing boat. I just need a number here, so all of a sudden it doesn't look like a marina. So,
is there a happy medium to getting some sort of information back from landowners if it's an issue that we just adjust? Because each individual is gonna get a separate license, correct?
correct.
Is there, I hate to make it a convoluted cluster by trying to get more options, but I hate to limit somebody from going through this effort. Saying, well, no, we want your pontoon's got to float, your fishing boat can be on a lift and you only get 1 jet ski, the other one's got to be tied up on shore. I mean, it just,
Okay, so you can,
It's to a reasonable number based on your talks with
Right
homeowners?
now, 2 is, like I say, I haven't heard, there's a current landowner in the audience here, if that's,
I would ask him if he knows of the neighbors, if maybe we just say 3 and it's not, I mean, 3 isn't gonna turn it into a marina, but it doesn't limit them.
Can I invite him up to the microphone? Scott?
But yeah,
All
You're
right,
in charge. You
I can,
you can adjourn us.
good to,
this is
to know.
Jonathan Island, so he is the property that's the closest to the park, the big park.
I think 2 is, I think all I've seen, or actually there is 2 and then 3. So I think 2. By jet skis, 2 jet skis and a boat, I think is the most that is out there. And then 1 pontoon, 1 boat, 1 pontoon, 1 boat.
I would be content with 3 just because of the jet skis can take, if somebody's got 2 wave runners, they can take up, 2 small lifts
Right.
and limit them.
I would
don't think
concur with that.
Is
So-
there a downside to 3?
No, I mean, it's
Or 3.
basically,
I-
you had 3 there, it's, they're the ones gotta take it in and out, so
Yeah,
it's
alright.
just like I say, so it's not a marina. So I can put down 3 boat lifts.
Yeah.
Up to. Okay,
Brad, does that work for you?
Well, if it was 3 full-size boats, I might have an issue. I think that's too much. I think if you say 2 boat lifts, 2 boat lifts, a boat lift and 2 jet skis lifts, and left it that way, that would make more sense. But if you put 3 full-size boats out there, pontoon, a fishing boat and a speedboat, yeah, that's too much. I personally think that. The other question I have, Lisa, and I didn't catch this till right now, is there anything in here that says that the dock has to comply with DNR standards?
yes, docks and lifts must comply with all applicable laws, ordinances, rules, and regulations, that's
Okay.
number 6, yep.
That covers it, okay. I was thinking of us in that stance, not in that stance, not the DNR, but it is covering the DNR, okay. I just wanted that in there.
Okay, we're up.
So I'm okay with 2 boat lifts, a boat lift and 2 jet skis, but not 3 full-size boats.
Your way to word that? Lisa?
I will try to do that.
Okay,
So
excellent, thank you.
2 full-size boat lifts. And how many small ones? 2?
Or a full-size and 2 jet skis. I would put it that way. 2 full-size boat lifts or a full-size and 2 jet skis.
So they could have, they could have 1 full-size boat lift and 2 jet skis, is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it, or 2 full-size boats. Okay.
Right.
Or if it helps to put in there, not 3 full-size boats.
Okay. All right. All right, next item.
I just
Thank
had
you.
one clarification. So now that is county property there. So if
Correct.
someone else does want to pull up there, they have every right to. Not at their dock, but they do at the beach, just like any place else around the lake.
We are licensing the docks, their ability to put a dock and boat lifts there.
Okay.
The description I have is for the whole beach area. But they're only getting a license for the dock and the boat lifts. So if somebody does come up on the beach, they could. We're licensing the whole beach just because we don't know if sometimes they want to move it one way or the other. And then it gives them that room to park it for the winter.
But it still doesn't keep other people off that beach.
Nope, they can put a private dock sign on the dock. Okay, the next one is 5 years, 5-year license. Do I hear 6?
Do I hear 4? Do I hear 3? I would concur with 5.
That seems reasonable to me.
Okay.
Yep.
Now the big one is the annual fee, $500 annual. Like I say, currently it's $40 according to our ordinance. They are getting exclusive license to put their dock and boat lifts there. But it is still.
How much was the lease before?
That depended on what they had on there. I believe that was on its way up to 800. Cause it went up a percentage every year.
What's the cost to the county of inspecting or, doing the work to do this? Because it seems like it should cover the costs.
Well, at this point, I think it's kind of like the DNR looks at the docks
Uh-huh,
and
so
stuff.
you
So
don't
I
do
don't,
that.
I don't believe we're gonna be doing any inspecting. We're just gonna see if they're parked on there. And, you know, if we see, you know, something really being degraded and or if they're, you know, painting their boat out in the water, we'd have some concern about that. But
Do you go once and look or something?
I think it'd be pretty minimal. Jess, don't you think? Yeah. So I would say somewhere between $40 and $500. So
So you're finding the $500 is less than what they were paying for the current leases and stuff, so it's less than what they were shelling out initially, but just not having the property, but having the license, so.
that's
Seems-
correct. However, they don't get to use the land like they did
As they
before.
had in the past.
So this is a smaller area. It's more
Yep.
confined. So, you know, $500 might be a little bit high.
Right.
I just.
But it's also an exclusive use of your dock on county property, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I think Brad, you had some thoughts on the cost?
Well, I had commented, I think that the initial fee should be more. I mean, to get through this process has been taking a lot of staff time in that. So my thought was a higher initial cost for the first year and then a lower cost for the next 4. Knowing that if we have to put a new person on, they change ownership, we put a new person on. Now we have to go through the whole process to let them know exactly what they can and cannot do. That there should be a little higher cost in the beginning and then to ongoing to be less. And I suggested maybe 250, 100, 100, 100, 100. But it could be 150 and 75, 75, 75, something like that. I agree with Sue. The only person who benefits from this is the person who's least or has the license. It doesn't benefit the rest of the public, so that person should pay the total cost.
Okay, so we have a 500 and a 250 with 100s going down or a 150 with 75s going down.
My opinion would be that's pretty low. I think 500's a bit high, so I would go somewhere in the middle. 350, 2.
Did you have any assessment of staff time and cost it was gonna cost to do all this? Or we say, well, this is gonna cost $1,000 staff time and everything that we need to make sure that that's covered and ongoing? that
No, I mean, really,
justified?
this upfront stuff has cost us the most. But then going forward, if they sell the property, the license ends, and then they'd have to do a new license, which would probably be basically a copy of the same thing.
But you've got $500 staff time, $1,000 staff time.
I would say probably if we had to redo a new lease, it's probably another $500 to just get all staff time in the meetings and stuff to go. So, you know, that might be your initial and then you come down.
Okay.
Or,
And I understand this isn't the same thing, but if you rent a slip by the dock for the summer in a lake, I'm sure it's way more than $500.
yeah, I'm not sure if somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah, like a couple thousand anyway.
people down here pay pretty good money.
Yeah, and that's the river, not like those.
Right.
Mhm.
But you get this dock to yourself most of the time.
Right.
We gotta pick a number, folks. Then just says pick a number. folks.
Right. So I happen to think that Brad's suggestion is too low. And I would still say that the 500 is a bit high. Comments?
Well, just thinking about docks, I thought 500 was pretty reasonable myself, but
All right.
that's because I know docks, it costs an awful lot to have
Costs a lot.
a boat.
I
under
I
the-
think if you offered to the public to be able to lease a spot on a lake for $500, you'd have many people that
Yeah,
would like
we
to do
would-
it.
We'd run out of spots. that day
Yes.
one.
Right.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Good
that's what I think.
$300 for all 5 years, for $300 a year,
Straight across the board, that's what you're suggesting?
every year. Happy medium. I don't-
Yeah, I can live with that.
Awesome.
Right.
All right, we have a motion, right?
So we got
We don't
300.
Don't
Pardon?
make the motion that we do 300. Or no, yeah, we don't need a motion.
No, we don't have a motion, because we're
Get
just-
consensus.
What, all right.
request to speak.
Ken Burns is one of the landowners. It's up to you. This isn't a public hearing, but he is one of the landowners up there.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak briefly. Just a reminder that we're in the process of selling the lake shore at the far end, at the west end of the lake, and it's approximately the same amount for a sale versus the use of our dock that, you know, it was in place long before the county got involved. I think the only reason that, you know, you're looking at us as a unique case is because the county decided to put the park in front of our 3 properties. And I would request that it be more in line with a license fee or the dock permit of $40. If we increased it by 250%, $100 a year seems very reasonable. I think the sale at the other end of the lake was about in the range of between $300 and $1,500 to actually sell the land. And please keep that in mind that everyone else on the lake that was in the same situation as these landowners now will soon be or has been owning since 1984 the actual property. So it's not just that we're given a special situation. I think we're much more restricted than anybody else that was in the same situation on the lake as us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right.
Right now, you're at 300 a year per year. We'll move on to the next items, and then you can come back to that one if you want to revisit that. Number 6, there should be no peeling paint or loose pieces that may dislodge. I think the idea here is that we're not going out there and trying to scrape pieces up, but if it's a lot that are coming off, then we need to deal with them. So I don't know if you want any change of wording on that. No peeling paint or loose pieces, I think.
Covers it.
I think it covers it. You know, I can talk to attorney's office again and see if they have some better wording on that.
All right.
Basically, we don't want it to be, you know, coming apart and having
Right,
loose
right, right.
pieces float down. And then the last item is the termination. So we say number 8, terminate this agreement providing 30 days written notice of intent to not renew the license. Said notice shall be provided on or before the last day of November of the coming year. So I think what we could say something more to the effect, within 30 days of the last day of November, we'll notify you if you're going to be continuing or not. Just to clarify that writing up there again. If you're good with that. All right, so before you make a motion, I'll just go through what we got so far.
All right.
And first of all, we're recommending that that you guys approve the private dock license and direct us to prepare those documents. And in preparing those documents, we'll make those changes. And then if that's okay, we get those changes made, then I can have the board chair sign that hopefully before your next July 24th meeting or whenever that is. Okay, so the first item is one dock and the boat lift situation. One dock, either 2 full boats or 1 full boat and 2 jet ski lifts. The second one is 5 years, agreed to that. The third one is currently it's at $300 per year for the fleet license. We're okay with the loose and peeling paint, and then we'll word this for 30 days within November. So do you want to revisit the $300 annual?
And currently they're paying 840,
That was for the land that they were leasing.
and they're still gonna get to use the land now, right?
It'll be public land.
But everybody.
Public
Yeah.
land.
I mean, they won't be able to have their structures or anything on there at some point in time. They won't be paying a lease payment, I don't believe, this year.
The 2 issues are very different. One is a land use and the other is just a dock. And they're different pieces of land.
This is a public
Yeah.
hearing.
He should be asking to recognize.
Good. No, thank you. All right, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the changes that Lisa just read.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to accept. It's not a lease, it's a license.
License.
With the corrections that Lisa has brought forth. All right, Susan.
I vote aye.
All right.
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
board chair votes aye.
Okay, we will prepare that and then bring it back for your signature as soon as it's done. Thank you.
All right. Land use managers, directors report. Consideration. Hello.
Good morning. So the first, these items were heard by the Goodhue County Planning Commission at their Thursday, June 15th meeting. So staff was not able to get their recommendations forwarded to you. So the first item is the Coleshorn Ridge second preliminary and final plat review. At the public hearing on the 15th, there was no public comment. And the Planning Commission unanimously recommends that the county board approve the Coleshorn Ridge second preliminary and final plat in Hay Creek Township.
And that allows one dwelling.
Yes.
And it covers two sections, one which was full, one which wasn't, and the house, would it be at the bottom of that hill then?
The house would have to be in section 30
right.
on lot 1, block 1 on the southernmost point of
right.
that. Yep. And
I understand.
yep.
So this is not a public hearing now, correct?
No.
No.
Correct.
All right. All right. Do we have a motion or any comments, questions?
I'll move approval.
Move approval as presented, Anderson.
I'll second it.
All right, good. It's moved and seconded to accept the Colsham Ridge preliminary plat review. All those in favor, Brad,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
board chair votes aye. Susan,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
motion passes. Thank you.
And the second one we have for you today is the McNamara Hay Creek Farm preliminary and final plat. This was also heard at the June 15th Planning Commission meeting. This is proposing to create 5 outlots. Outlots are not considered buildable for any structures per the county subdivision ordinance. This is off of Old Church Road in Hay Creek Township. At the Planning Commission meeting, there was public testimony given regarding just questioning the proposed use of these properties. Staff's understanding at the time is that the owner is proposing to split off the tillable land from the wooded / bluff lands to sell the wooded land for recreational hunting type purposes and retain the tillable land. They would keep that. That's very popular right now. We approve splits every week to split tillable land from wooded land in Goodhue County. There was also questions about access, physical access to some of the parcels by one of the neighbors. Staff noted during the hearing that the plat shows legal access off of public roads. However, physical access would need to be obtained by any owners or future owners from a public road. There were questions about Outlot C and there's a significant ditch there along Old Church Road. And the ability to get up to Outlot E. However, staff we would just note that this has legal access as required by the subdivision ordinance. So, let's see here. The Planning Commission did also unanimously recommend that the county board approve the McNamara Hay Creek Farm preliminary and final plat.
Thank you.
I'd move approval of the final plat with the recommendation from the Planning Commission. And then after a second, I'd make a comment.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion, questions? All right,
Well, my comment's gonna be that, you know, we've, as staff noted, we're seeing this all the time with the price of farmland where it is. And if you're not a hunter, you probably don't want the woods anyway. So we're gonna just continue to see this going forward time and time again. So it's just the way of the world. Thanks.
Right? All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Todd,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
board chair votes aye. Jason,
Aye.
Brad.
Hi.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. Ditch agreement,
I'm still here.
that's you.
You haven't left yet.
Okay, we talked about this back at your May meeting in Kenyon about trying to come to an agreement with the Soil and Water to do some of the basic drainage inspection on County Ditch 1 only. Don't mean this is not to cover road ditches or anything. This is County Ditch 1. And I think, working with Mr. Bo Kennedy from Soil and Water, some of the other counties have a similar, agreement. This is kind of a typical agreement that I write, and you'll see this in the GIS contracts and all this kind of stuff. The first part is everything that they will do for us, and basically they'll be attending the public hearings, giving people advice on what to do if it's, causing issues. They'll be the ones that would contract or try to get a hold of people, what needs to be sprayed, what doesn't need to be sprayed for each year. So they're going to be kind of the first point of contact for this County Ditch 1. They still will coordinate with us, but they'll be the first point of contact. They're out there, they're more accessible to that to see more often and work with the landowners. So that's the agreement between the parties. The other thing I want to just bring to your attention is the reimbursement. So we would reimburse the Soil and Water staff on an annual basis. They would give us an invoice at the end of the year about how many times they went out and did the inspections or whatever. And then also, just as a note, that they'll present any quotes for services for maintenance to our county auditor, who will work with me also on this look reasonable, so that they can go and get some quotes for spraying, and then we'll look at it and review it before we say go ahead and do that. So those are the two big main items on that. Their duties, what they'll help us in the first step, and then how we would pay them. The payment on this also would be assessed to the county ditch. So it wouldn't be taxpayer, it would be the county ditch owners that this would come out of the ditch fund.
Okay,
So we're asking you, the Soil and Water Board's already approved this, as you've seen, so we're just asking for you to approve this service agreement with Soil and Water.
I understand it's not coming out of county funds, but what's their rate that they charge? That wasn't cited in there. $100 an hour or something?
I believe it'd be based on their staff time. That's how they usually do with us. So
Yeah.
whatever their staffing time is, they would charge us that rate. But if you would like a better number, I can
Well,
get that.
just
for you.
curious about.
It's,
the number.
but it's different based on the person that does it, so.
All right, so it could be a low of 50, a high
Yeah.
of 150 or something.
Yeah, I think it's similar, like we also get charged for their services on the AIS. Our AIS board, aquatic invasive species, so they're pretty reasonable about that.
And again, I understand this isn't our expense, but do you think we're talking 10 hours, 100 hours?
I think on a typical year now that we've got it all together.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if it was 10 hours.
Right. So
You
not.
know,
a
it'd be
big
very
deal of
low.
time.
It'd be more like contracting, getting some bids for spraying.
Yeah.
Go and make sure they did it, that kind of stuff. So I would say maybe 10, 20 hours a year.
This Commissioner Anderson, just a comment. Soil and Water, typically they have some rates that the state sets that they can use for administrative rates. And I'm guessing they're gonna go off of those for what they charge us, so that if they follow those rates, they're gonna vary year to year based on inflation. So I think having them do it, the only thing I will ask is, do we get a report? Does the ditch authority need to meet at a regular time, like maybe every other year, to get reports on where the ditch is at?
I don't believe
board,
that
rather than just wait.
I don't believe that you have to do a yearly meeting. But I think in here we did say that they would report on all the work that they've done, during that year. Yeah. And I'll double check with that, with our With
I don't know
both.
if we have to meet, but I just think it would be wise if we knew what the charges were, how it was going forward and everything. And that really shouldn't be a county board, that should be the ditch authority that gets that report. Whether it's just a written report that comes to us, that's fine, but I think it needs to get to every commissioner, or 5 years from now, when there's different commissioners on here, they won't know anything about it.
Okay, so under the reimbursement, we have that will reimburse their staff time on an annual basis. They provide us an invoice the 1st of November. I can communicate with Mr. Kennedy that we'd like to see the whole report, what they did when they submit that invoice for reimbursement for staffing.
Okay, excellent, thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Those in favor, Brad, we will start with you.
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Board Chair votes aye. Susan?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Public Works Director's report.
Morning, board.
Morning.
First item here is dealing with long delivery schedule for a piece of equipment at the recycling center. During the capital plan budget process, staff took a look at some of the items that were in the upcoming capital plan for 2024. And when visiting with vendors, it came to our attention that the lead time for the delivery of a forklift is pushing 12 months. So staff's here today to see if the board's interested in allowing us to move forward with placing an order for this forklift so we can get it in 2024 and use it.
And we don't have to pay for it till we get it? Correct.
Correct.
Thank you. All right.
Move approval for the orders.
All right, I'll second it. All those in favor, roll call vote. Todd?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Board Chair votes aye.
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
That motion passes.
Thank you much.
Okay, so the next item we have is requesting the board to hold a special county board meeting. This involves revoking a small section of what used to be County Road 14 to the township. MnDOT, when they redid Highway 52, they cut off 14 from its intersection with 52 and then extended 14 up to County Road 24's roundabout. So we end up with a small section of roadway that technically is still on part of County State Highway 14. So we'd like to revoke that to the township, and when we do a revocation of a county road to a township, it requires a hearing in the township. So we picked a date of the 9th of August. That's the night that Cannon Falls Township has their monthly meeting. So they'll start their meeting at 7. We have it scheduled for 7:30. It should be hopefully a very short discussion. So
Out of curiosity, when we do something like this, do the townships you already talked to the township so that they already want this before we go through?
I talked to the town board
Okay,
on it, and he thought the logic behind it was solid.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
Move approval of the recommendation to hold the hearing to revoke the County 14s.
all right, we have a second?
I'll second that. You.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other comments, questions? All right, Jason,
Yes, aye.
Brad?
Aye.
All right, board chair votes aye. Susan?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
All right, that motion passes.
Okay, the next item is similar, requesting set a special county board meeting. This is for the generally annually, we have a road tour where we start a meeting at usually 8 o'clock at Public Works, kind of go through the construction programs, and then we hop in a van and drive through the county to take a look at projects that are underway, projects that have been completed, and issues that should be considered for some sort of action in the future. Canvassing the board, the date that seems to appear the best for the board is the 29th of August. So we're requesting that the board set a special meeting to start at 8 o'clock at Public Works on the 29th of August for a road tour. Then we'll hop in the van and be on the road for most of the day.
Move approval, Anderson.
Wait a second.
I'll second that with a comment.
Go ahead.
I'll volunteer my vehicle so we don't have to rent the big van. I know that was really expensive last year. I have a
Beautiful.
7-passenger, so.
Yeah. That works.
Do that.
Thank you.
I don't know how many we're gonna have, but.
Well, between that and my Suburban, we can fit it
Okay.
and not rent a van.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to choose August 29th for the road tour. Brad? All those in favor? Brad? Jason?
Aye.
Board chair votes aye. Susan?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
All right, thank you. County Administrator's Report.
And Stacy and Tim will handle this report.
Morning.
All right, so we are back in front of you today with looking for some action on consensus that we received at the Committee of the Whole on May 16th. So as a quick refresher, on May 16th, we had Von Peterson from TSP here, and he reviewed all of the different phases of the Government Center Space Study Master Plan. So the direction we received that day was to obtain some cost estimates to implement phase 1. So we have in front of you today. We've spent some time with Chris Handy from Red Wing Construction to provide us with an estimate to do the things that we thought we need to do to implement phase 1, the security pieces of it, and to make some minor modifications to some of the spaces. I'll make a note that some of those areas did not have carpet replaced in 2010 when the rest of the Government Center did. So at this time, we're requesting approval to proceed with the implementation of the moves that are outlined below in phase 1. So the Veterans Service Office and the Extension Office moves to the lower level. Facilities Maintenance and Information Technology moves to the first floor. Land Use Management moves to 104, and reconfiguration takes place in 105 and 106. So that all of Land Use and Survey GIS, Environmental Health is all on the 5th Street side of the building. We're requesting to use, based on the estimates received, we're requesting to use approximately $195,000 to $280,000 of building contingency dollars to to pay for these modifications, including the security upgrades that would be tied to that. It would be our intent to have this implemented by the end of the year. So.
And I'll just add, we did meet with each of the department heads. This plan does meet what their requirements for doing their business is. It does stay in line with the master plan as well as the security plan as we move forward.
Is that changing the front end or the front look or the cattle? shed?
Not at this phase.
Okay.
No, but it also, the direction we also received last time was to start working further into what phase 2 and phase 3 looks like and what it could cost, so that we could start budgeting for that in future budgets. So we are working with TSP on that piece.
So this is the all-in cost for phase 1.
That's where we believe we're at.
Right, and I believe that the roof issue was also coming out of contingency funds.
Correct.
And that was, I think, under 100,000, but I guess Brian, would be question to Brian, what should our contingency fund be running? How much money should we have in it?
The building contingency. Is that a question for finance?
Yeah.
Yep.
Brian, you want to come up once again?
Did have 1.2 million in there, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so it
Correct.
was the
Brad made
balance.
that comment about adding additional.
Right,
We
right,
found that we
right,
needed.
right. And we just wanted to know.
Building contingency is usually set by discretion of the board.
It is.
How much we approve to put in there based on levy requests, because sometimes we pulled building contingency to fund levy options before,
I see.
but frowned upon different times, of what we have to do to pay, so.
Make
It's usually set by the board. We have dumped in
So there's not a standard amount like
$250,000
there are in,
years ago.
capital
We were
projects.
adding to get it up to like $1 million, I believe is the running amount we have.
Right.
Prior boards had
Tried to keep.
tried to keep it at $1 million and added as Hate to steal your thunder. I don't know if that answered. your question.
I agree.
So that
I think they said, what was it, 1.3 million, I believe, and then so we're gonna bring it down to close to $1 million.
Right, but we just used a couple $100,000 for the,
Yes.
I actually have it right here, but
And that's why I comment, like,
1.3.
Brad made a comment about using the additional 100,000 that if we use this, if we use 200,000, we use it, we'll be under $1 million,
Right.
900 some thousand, 950,000, but. And that'll be left to the board to make that decision. If we want to hit $1 million, just under.
Well, that's
we'll
what I
make
wanted
that-
to know, the
We'll make
$1,000,000
that levy assessment as it comes. It'll be an option brought to the board to say we levy for additional 100 or.
Or we don't.
so what's a safe number? In your opinion?
No, I'd say if you're, because you work so hard to get it up to the $1 million mark, and again, when you talk about this during the budget time, if you work back up towards that. But if you're looking to implement the first phase of this project, then this would be a good use of the funds to go ahead and use that for the small amount that you're looking for.
All right. But it would be ideal to keep our contingency fund at.
I would simply say so. I mean, you can use the reserve fund balance. I think this board has had, I don't want to say the luxury, but again, you've worked hard to put the money aside for projects like this, or when rooftop units go, or elevators, or the whole list of issues that we've had with a number of buildings that we've had to fix them. So it's nice to keep that money in there and use it properly.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion.
There's no motion yet.
Mhm.
There is no motion yet.
Right. We have one.
I'll make a motion that we approve using contingency funds to implement the phase 1 as outlined in this document.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to use the contingency fund for phase 1. All right. Roll call vote. All those in favor? Brad?
No,
I'm sorry?
I said no.
No, that's what you're, all right. Jason?
Aye.
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 Oh, I'm sorry, roll call vote. Jason was an aye. Board chair is an aye. Susan?
Venture is an aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, for your information, we all have had a chance to go over those. County Board Committee reports. Are there any committee reports?
I'll just make one comment about Three Rivers. One of the interesting things they're doing is through grants, they're building out some of the spaces in their buildings and then leasing them to family daycare providers. And then doing family daycare in the buildings. And they've had lots of people interested. The cost has been paid for with grants and it seemed like a good model for them. And they're doing that. I can't remember if it's, I think it's 2 in Northfield and now they're starting 1 in Rochester.
It is right in their Three Rivers buildings.
Buildings.
That might help.
Get-
That would help recruitment in some cases.
Well, it's really a helpful thing. I
Yeah.
think, and a good idea.
Very good idea.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any others? New or old business? Review and approve county claims.
Move approval.
Moved, second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to pay the county bills. All those in favor? Jason?
Aye.
Board chair votes aye. Susan?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. And
Motion to adjourn.
board chair seconds. Todd?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Board chair votes aye.
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. We have 2.5 minutes.
Oh, let's take that.
Uh,
That's good
Okay.
meeting management there.
Well, that roll call